Yeah, you're gonna learn today.
Just me, how to be married now.
Period. I already told him, I said, look, it's Britney or it's you. Which one you what? Yeah, before you. So he said, okay, I got you.
Nice to meet you. That was beautiful. That's all right. What's your name? I'm Bree. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Angelique. Nice to meet you. Get out of the way. Get your picture. I know. This is like black people. Okay. So we're gonna need you to introduce yourself. Oh, sorry. What?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, so basically, I'm just gonna ask you to introduce yourself, and we want to have a little bit more understanding of what this is. There's so much like y'all just crazy. Y'all just You from Vegas?
Yeah.
So what brought you downtown today?
So Britney brought me downtown today. You know, she does not have a voice for herself, so I'm being her voice because once upon a time she was my voice through her music.
So what about this movement connects with you personally?
Everything. I mean, from her tears, from her blood, sweat, and tears, performing, just everything, her brand, everything she worked for. At the point of Britney's career, she was like, you know, I don't want to perform no more. She doesn't even have the right to sit down and take a time out. You know what I mean? So this is more and more important, not just about Britney, the performer, but it's important about Britney, the person.
Let me ask you this. What's the common
They think that we're crazy. They want to attach us to her 2007 movement where she went through postpartum depression. A lot of women, yes, and it was just postpartum depression. A lot of women can relate to that and go through that, and they're not called crazy because they're regular people. Britney's called crazy because she's on a bigger platform, and I feel like that is very unfair, and people hold that over her, but she's been way better since 2007. Yes, so we need to get on it.
So are we happy that she gets her own attorney today? I know that this was good news for her.
Yeah, so it's a step to the universe that we are going to reach no matter what, live or dead. We're going to reach it.
Yeah, she's going to be free. I feel like her she's being used for like she's
a whole bunch of other people, women, men, older, blind. She's helping the world. And we've always said that Britney is the world because whatever Britney goes through, it really changes the world. Like I remember Forever 21, when Britney shaved her head, they pulled and snatched them wigs off the mannequin. And the mannequin was boss. I'm telling you. Yeah. It's everything.
So is there anything else that you want to share about like, how she affected your life personally? Because I feel like today I learned so much from y'all. She got like the best one.
Yes. So Britney Spears has impacted my life ever since I was a little boy. She has given me the freedom to basically speak my mind and be who I am. She always showed her midriff or said, you know what, this is who I am.
I forgot that was the thing.
Was the thing. She started that. She started the trend of showing your midriff. And she said, you know what, you don't have to like me, but I'm going to be who I am. And that's one thing that we're fighting for, so she can go back to being who she is. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So nice to meet you.
Always.
Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas. Come turn up with us in Vegas.
Wait, I'm circling Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. He doesn't want to smile. In the blackout era of Britney, she was doing a CD release about the basically they had a final and something happened to where they end up editing these people out, but I didn't find one. So could you Well, that's it's going to be a documentary on the New York Times, which is pretty good. Oh, number 2? Oh my God. I love that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because you're around camera like me a lot. So yeah, we're going to have, yeah, so, yeah.
Thank you so much.
I'm definitely going to get your information.
Hey, Brittany!
Thank you.
Trying to find a trash can. I like your shirt. You're welcome.
I'm fighting in mine. My part. When I see someone sing next to me, I start singing harder. That's what I was horrible about music. I just started singing.
My shit was all broken. I was trying to get it out. Sound like Selena. I'm so excited. I did too. Is she still really excited?
I was excited. I was like, oh my god.
When did you grab her?
There's a little party split house. We got a lot of beats. We got a lot of video will be 3 minutes.
One? One? Yeah, she was so persistent that I knew Spanish. I know Spanish. Oh, right here? I don't know.
She's trying to get me too, but her dad
I don't think so. We can know all these people and then they come for it.
I love that shit.
Always another agenda. I know.
Look at his head.
The dad's head.
On a steak though.
Where's the Starbucks? Wait, where is it?
I think it's down here.
Starbucks down there. I don't want to walk though.
Feel like so much Britney. I want one of those free Britney ones. I've seen them. They have the like flappy ones too.
And they have hats too. Really? Yeah. A lot of good stuff. And they have like a lot of hats. I don't even think I would buy merch. I think I would merch.
Yeah, we all have been
They died during like
Back to the right now, we'll just camera for you.
You guys are the nicest protesters. Usually like you get a mob of
I know, but that's you can shower, yeah. I know. So I don't look so wetty. I know. I think I might take a shower too. I know.
Well, what was people at the posters or anything? After the car.
Right now. Let's do one more now that we're there, and then we'll walk. And then maybe I'll just be like, so we can get these.
Oh yeah, Jordan Miller. So she must know about Jordan Miller, yeah.
Hey guys, listen up! Hey, everyone, please back up. Let the men get through. Get on the ground. Kneel on the ground. Everyone in the front, kneel down.
We're in the back.
Oh my god, I'm so
That's the
sorry.
audio. You guys hear me? Alright, I have very sloppy handwritten notes. I wrote almost every single thing down as much as I could. I'm going to try to go through them really quickly and tell you guys what happened. I know you heard some stuff, but I've got a lot of details. So, actually, Diego, can you hold this?
Talk louder!
Okay, I'll scream.
Yeah, Leanne!
Okay, so, at the very beginning, I'm just going to take you all the way through the entire thing. I'm sure you all want to know, right? Yes! Okay, so right away before the judge said before Britney speaks, I am aware that there's someone here in the audience who wishes to speak on behalf of Ms. Spears. And she asked Matthew Rosengart to step forward, and he went and sat at the council table. Britney was on the line. She said, "Yes, ma'am, I want him to represent me." The judge confirmed Ms. Spears talked to you, to Mr. Rosengart. He said correct. She asked about his credentials, and he went on and on about how substantial his coast-to-coast firm is, their litigators, trial attorneys. He has a whole team behind him. That high-profile Herbalife case, they're very equipped to handle this shit. Penny wanted to make sure no one else from the case, like Lynn or Jamie, had contacted him because that would be a conflict. He said that's an excellent question, but no one else attempted to contact him. No conflicts of interest. The judge did ask that she gets this in writing, that Rosengart is going to represent Britney. First, we went into the Loeb and Loeb Bessemer resignation, and Penny said she accepts the resignation of Bessemer effective immediately. Because they have had no control of any assets and no letters, it should be a pretty simple process. Sam Ingham interrupted and said, I just got a text from Britney, she wants to speak. Matthew Rosengart said, that's okay with me. Did they already speak? We're getting ahead of ourselves, sorry. It's hard to read this. Bear with me.
Take your time.
Okay. So then, after Britney had texted Ingham, she spoke and said, I'd like the courtroom to be cleared before I speak. And we all panicked. And the judge said, well, let me finish with this Bessemer order, and then I'll hear from counsel regarding closing this courtroom. So Vivian Thore said she had no objections to the resignation of Bessemer, and just wants to request a clean order with Jamie Spears listed as sole conservator of the estate.
Appointed at this point, and then there was a little bit of confusion, and then Penny asked whether Rosengart wanted to speak on what his qualifications were and if he wanted to be heard on the issue. So he says the firm, again, he reiterates, the firm is well equipped to handle this. It's well equipped to handle this, opposed to Holland and Knight. Jody Montgomery had mentioned something about wanting Britney to be represented by a top 100 law firm, which Rosengart then confirmed that he was a member of such a law firm. He then says he agreed with the ACLU submission that would, with at least 50% of that. And the 50% he agreed with was that Britney has a 5th and 6th Amendment right to hire her own attorney. And this probate code statutorily, she is also entitled under the probate code 1873 to hire her own attorney. And he said, even if the law has nothing to do with it, I believe in the human dignity and autonomy of her to be able to direct her own choices of attorney. So then there's kind of like a clarification. He said it's our, intent to work with Lorianne Wright, like Jody Montgomery's lawyer, in order to get a formal engagement letter. There hasn't been an engagement letter signed, it's the thing you need whenever you hire a lawyer. So they haven't done that part yet. So there's still some technicalities to work through, but he is appointed as her lawyer for all intents and purposes as of today.
And on that note, well, I guess we'll get there in 1 second. I did just want to say that he also said that based on Britney's statement on 6/23, it was compelling and proved that she's more than capable.
So he also reiterated that there was a statement on July 7th that we did hear about in the news, but it hasn't been filed in the court yet, where Britney said that she wants to exercise her right to hire an attorney. It was her desire to end the conservatorship. It was her desire to choose and obtain her own counsel. And then Rosengart said he would be filing that now with the court.
Yes.
Read it out loud.
Then we had a woman named Zoe who was representing the ACLU who chimed in and said that she agreed with Rosengart regarding Britney's capacity, and she did want to make an additional point, which I think was a good point. She wanted to make sure that Britney had enough access to lawyers confidentially, that she had unmonitored internet access, was able to do her own research, and if not, she encouraged the court to use supported decision making and said that ACLU will provide assistance to Britney to get her own attorney if she felt rushed in picking this one. And then Ingham said Britney texted him and asked to address the court again.
So the ACLU did clarify that they don't take any position on Attorney Rosengart. They have no opinion on him. All they were concerned about was the process, that Britney was allowed the process to do her own research and come up with her own decision as a lawyer, just to make sure this wasn't another person who they probably snuck under the back door. So the ACLU did say they don't think that necessarily. They just wanted to make sure they would get time and research.
Okay, so Britney had texted Ingham and he said, I'm glad to be the interface between Miss Spears and Mr. Rosengart. I'm not sure who's representing Britney. Maybe my resignation should be accepted because there's two counsels right now. And then Britney came back and just said, I'll speak with the court open. And Judge Penny said regarding the ACLU brief and the counsel, are you comfortable, to Britney, she said, are you comfortable with Matt Rosengart? And she said, yes, I've spoken with him on the phone, I've met with him, and I want him to represent me, and I will speak with the courtroom open. And then Rosengart clarified,
so earlier in his sort of talking, Rosengart had said that he agreed with 50% of the ACLU's reasoning in their amicus brief. And he said he wanted to clarify that he did agree, the 50% he agrees with was that she has a right to her own counsel, but he does not agree, and Britney does not want any type of intermediary to help her choose a lawyer. She, Jody and her lawyer had said, we want, this guardian to be put in place to help Britney choose a lawyer, which would be another person imposed on her by the state, paying out of her estate. And she said, I don't want that. I picked my lawyer, I'm 100% on him, and I'm comfortable with that decision. And so the ACLU just said, great, we're happy to hear it, and our offer remains open if you want to change your mind and you would like to have someone to help you to choose a lawyer at any time.
And then Vivian Thore chimed in and said that she wanted to clarify Mr. Spears has no issues with that, no objections to Britney having her own counsel. Ingham said, as a housekeeping note, he doesn't want to continue as intermediary. He was just bringing it up because Britney's texting me as the hearing goes on, and she has a right to interject. And then Britney interrupted and said, I was texting you because I couldn't get through to my lawyer. I didn't mean to text you, though. And then, queen behavior. And then Ingham said his usual statement. He said, last time, I've not attempted to control, filter, edit, anything. Ms. Spears got her own independent phone line. I won't interrupt her when she speaks. But please accept the resignation. It's not in Britney's best interest to have two counsels on the hook, which I thought was an interesting choice of words. Then Britney says, I texted you because I didn't have my lawyer's number in my phone.
Her new phone.
Her new phone.
She checked her own phone.
And then the judge said, okay, Mr. Ingham and Logan Loeb, you are released. She accepted that resignation, so they both lost the call. Matthew Rosengart brought up that there is precedent in this case to clear the courtroom in case Britney discussed medical issues or anything like that, and because they've been sealing it for so long, precedent has been set, he would be okay with closing the courtroom. And then Britney said, I don't mind if it's open. And then Judge Penny said, okay, Ms. Spears, go ahead and make your statement. So she started. Britney said, I am here. I want to make clear who I want as my own lawyer. I want to get rid of my dad, and I want a petition to end the conservatorship. Without an evaluation. She's done with these stupid psych tests
that she never qualified for.
She's not willing to end it right now if she has to be evaluated. She wrote a mock-up of her schedule from when she was in the program against her will. You know, she said she was threatened. I should have never been threatened when I went to this made-up program. I was always extremely scared of my dad. There were 9 people with me. I have abandonment issues. People kept leaving me. You know, even my kids and my boyfriend had to leave me.
She said she was there for 20 hours a week, but she couldn't leave at all. So she said she was scared of her dad, and she recounted a time when she was younger that it wasn't clear to me. Someone left her at a dance studio for hours or something, and she kept being re-traumatized at this center that she was forced to be in, this made-up program, because she was having flashbacks to other times whenever people abandoned her. And she said, I wasn't only expected to work for 6 to 7, 4 to 6 hours a day, but I was expected to be available 10 hours a day, from the time I opened my eyes till I went to sleep. And she said, I haven't even heard of a part-time job being like that. It was 20 hours a week, and I'm working for this.
She also said when she was in the treatment facility that they took away her hair vitamins, they threw it all away, she bought it with her own money. And she said, this was a direct quote, "Ma'am, that's not abuse, that's just fucking cruelty." They took coffee away from her, they wouldn't let her eat a hamburger or french fries even on the weekend. She said, I'd like to get rid of my dad today, and honestly I want to charge him with conservatorship abuse. After he broke down the door and shook my son. And then Penny, I think as a power move, interrupted her and asked her to slow down again, because her stenographer is inept, I guess.
She was talking about no coffee, no privacy door. I had to change naked 3 times a day in front of those people who I didn't know. I had no say in what I would do. I couldn't even eat a hamburger or a cheeseburger. She said, whenever she said, this is fucking cruelty, and then she did say use my language, but there's no other way to say it. She said the only reason I can think of that they did any of this was they were trying to kill me.
Yes! Say it, Brittany!
I have that in mind.
Yeah. We tried to tag team our notes, but we weren't sitting by each other, so it was tough. She said, I want an investigation on my dad. She was apparently a while ago, she was pulled over, she was going 10 miles an hour driving her car. She didn't get a ticket, the officer just said, slow down. Her dad took away her license for 8 months. She said nobody's key should be taken away like that for that long, or something like that.
She said, he wants this investigation, I'm paraphrasing it, but she basically said, he and his lawyers filed for this investigation, and things I said, I don't need to be investigated. You need to investigate him.
Yes.
She said, investigate the conservator. Why do I have to be the one to show up and be investigated? I want to press charges on him today. I said,
I'm here to press charges. I'm angry.
Yes.
She said, I know you're wondering why I wouldn't just be evaluated. And then she got interrupted again because she was going too fast, supposedly. And she said, okay, so anyways, she repeated herself very well. So you're wondering why I wouldn't just want to be evaluated. Well, during the circus tour, I was told if I just followed the rules and I was good, that they would end the conservatorship. And I'm sick of being evaluated, and they keep dangling it that they're going to end it.
She said it's been done 3 times. She has had these extensive psychological evaluations 3 times in the hopes that she might be able to get out of this conservatorship. And all 3 times, she has not only not gotten out of the conservatorship, she has been perpetually re-traumatized in these evaluations. And she said, I'm just not willing to do it again.
She said, she doesn't want her intelligence to be questioned. She said she would provide to the judge her schedule. She did a mock-up of the schedule she was subjected to in the treatment facility. She said it was 70 hours a week. That's illegal, no matter what these stupid people say. They tried to make me seem crazy, which I'm not. My family hasn't done anything. My dad and my whole family was at my beach house in Destin while I was locked up at the facility.
She was not allowed to leave the facility. Like in her last hearing that we all heard, she said she wasn't allowed to walk out the front door. She reiterated that today, that she was not allowed to leave the facility, but everyone would come in and out. She had to be available all of this time. She didn't leave, and she called it, and I would agree with her, illegal.
Yeah.
She said that to the extent that she might have had breakdowns or tantrums or, you know, been overwhelmed or anything like that, it was entirely the fault of the people who were in charge of the conservatorship. And she said the thing that made her crazy at all, if she's crazy, is, like Leanne said, that her family didn't do anything. She said, my dad wants this investigation now, but whenever I was in there, he was getting drunk at my beach house with the rest of my family.
And calling her drunkenly from her beach house that she owns while she's in this facility against her will, and he's telling her, well, if you're there must be something wrong with you.
And around that time, Britney very unfortunately began to obviously cry and kind of tried to compose herself, and Penny stopped her and said, you take your time, whatever. Like, she talks to her like a kid like usual, and then says, whatever, like, this is abuse. Remove my dad today, and eventually maybe I can have Jody come in and help me get confidence to come back into the real world. But I'm completely unwilling to sit for an evaluation, and my dad has to go today.
Yes. Once her dad gone today, I want to work on getting my confidence back and going back into the real world. I want an investigation.
Yes.
So that was pretty much it for Britney's statement.
That was Britney. She was sad, but it was very powerful. Yes, it was hard to post myself in there. And then she may have hung up, or she may have just been listening.
Yeah, she said that's it. That's kind of all I wanted to say.
Bye.
Bye.
And then Rosengard.
Judge Penny says, oh, thank you for talking. I know it had to be so hard for you to talk about this in front of people. You don't even know. And all that. And then Britney's new lawyer stands up and says, I don't really want to talk about the strategy, but there's a certain amount of garden variety issues that just happen in conservatorship, like the fee petitions and the things about that. We should push those off, and we should really get to what really is the most important here, which is Britney's best interests. And what we should do is just defer all of this stuff about people wanting $1.5 million and $500,000 for media tours and unlimited money for security. Let's just not talk about that right now. He said, again, okay, so then at that point, I think Judge Penny got the message that she needed to make some decisions today.
Well, I have to interject here, because Lorianne Wright, Jody Montgomery's lawyer, she said how, oh, Miss Spears, it was really hard to hear you speak. That was so heartbreaking. We're here to help, okay? That was Jody Montgomery's lawyer. And I don't think Britney was even on the line anymore, so.
Okay, so then Judge Penny says, okay, so out of the 15 things that we have to decide today, one of those things has to do with Jody Montgomery's petition for that intermediary, that guardian ad litem. Penny said, I'm going to deny that, as Britney has a lawyer now. So and then Lorianne, Jody's lawyer, says, well, I really would like to talk about item number 5013, which is the security. Actually, it was kind of funny to watch her and Vivian go back and forth, which we'll get to. But she says it was heartbreaking to hear Britney's testimony. It was heartbreaking to hear you speak, she says. And then the judge comes back and says, as far as the ACLU petition to assist Britney in choosing a lawyer, similarly was denied. This was about 2:40 p.m. Just in your track. And then Judge Penny comes back to these security fees and mentions that Jamie and Vivian had filed an objection to these petition fees. Sorry, to these security fees. And then Vivian Thore, who's Jamie Spears' lawyer from Holland and Knight, speaks up and says, well, if Mr. Rosengard doesn't object, then we'll withdraw our objection. And, we just think, and I would agree with her on this part, we think it's pretty expensive for one person out of all of these people who similarly can make similar claims to having death threats and such.
She actually said, many other people in the same, and I will go so far as to say far worse quantity and quality of death threats, including minor children, that it's ridiculous to prioritize the safety of one person. Minor children have been threatened with death. They are Jamie's grandchildren from his other daughter, including one of them who is under 5 years old.
She forgot to mention, conveniently, that James Spears cannot be around his grandchildren for at least another year and a half because he, in fact, agreed with them. But Jamie's lawyer left that out and said those same kids who he abused are getting alleged death threats or whatever, which I don't know. I haven't seen evidence for that, and I haven't seen anyone doing that. But Vivian was right, and she did say it is very expensive. And yeah, especially with these threats to the minor children, and it puts Jamie in an awkward position to kind of decide who is he going to pay for this for or whatever, which Britney would be paid, of course. And then she said, but you know, if Britney's lawyer consents, and then Lorianne, right, butts in and says, well, you know, Jody started doing security updates to her home, and it's just heartbreaking that she needs this security. And, you know, Britney has stalkers too, and Jody is distinctive, is distinct from everyone else in this case. She tries to differentiate Jody. And she says, and that is because Britney wants Jody to be on this case. This is Jody's lawyer, right? She says, and anyway, we're not asking for any like unlimited money. We're only at, which is not true. Whenever they filed that first petition for fees, they asked for whatever sums were necessary. As whatever black box security suggested, that is what they were asking for. And so now she has changed her story, who knows why, and says we're only, get this, we're only asking for $50,000 flat at this point. And, you know, we think just with how much everybody else in the case is
She was like, oh, $3 million worth of attorney fees, and, you know, there's no security for my client, you know, Miss Montgomery. I think the priorities are all wrong.
Which true. I mean, listen, the lawyers do make too much, but that doesn't mean you get unlimited money. That means all y'all need to chill out. And then Mr. Rosengart, the voice of reason in the courtroom, says, okay, I'm not going to object or consent to anything before I talk to my client, so I'm going to do that first, and we'll hope to get to a speedy resolution of this issue. Because I think they're used to Sam Ingham just going, oh yeah, we consent. Right. And that's just that on that. And I don't think they expected him to say, I need to talk to Britney. Right. And then Vivian says, you know, Vivian Thore, Jamie's lawyer, said, we will work with them to expedite the resolution of this issue. And then Lorianne, Jody's attorney, comes back in and says, okay, well, we need it fast because right now she needs all this security and she's scared of the death threats and I'm worried of her safety and da-da-da. And then Rosengart says, okay, well, I mean, maybe I can do something by tomorrow, but I'm not going to make a decision on my client's behalf without talking to her. And then Judge Penny says, okay, well, I actually have to do something with this petition. I have to deny it, I have to grant it, or I have to continue it. And so they kind of go back and forth as to what they're going to do with that. And she says, okay, this I found interesting. Do you remember when Britney Spears, through her lawyer, requested an expedited hearing to be heard within the next 30 days? And the best Penny could do was come up with something 70 days later or whatever, 50 days later. Well, listen to this. When Jody wants unlimited fees for security, only $50,000 for security, now Penny all of a sudden has time on her calendar Monday to hear that.
Oh my God!
Incredible. Just incredible. So yeah, okay, so anyway, so then Vivian says, you know, Jody is already getting security, is what they're leaving out. The order is a formality, and especially if they're only asking for a flat fee, which is a new story to them today. Then Judge Penny reiterates, okay, but I have to do something with this petition today. And Lorianne says, okay, well, we really do want to have it on Monday still. Even though Jody's getting security, even though it's being paid for by the estate, she said Jody is personally responsible for this. And she just can't afford it. She's the least paid person in the whole case at $650 an hour. So just sort through that.
Britney's the least paid person in this whole thing.
Yeah. Someone said Britney is the least paid person. Vivian said Monday's fine, and then they're going to do it every day. So then boom, okay, that one's done. Next issue.
I wrote this one pretty verbatim. I tried. So they basically decided to deny without prejudice, or they denied completely Lynn's petition to hire an attorney for Britney, since Britney already hired her own attorney. So it didn't matter anyway, that wasn't a big deal. Oh, it wasn't a petition. I don't know the legalese. You know, it's my lawyer.
Basically, the thing Lynn said got dismissed because it addressed hiring a lawyer, and Britney already hired one of them.
So then Vivian gets on her high horse and comes in and says, I respect Ms. Spears' ability to come to court, but no one else has been able to provide their perspective. And she gave a very impassioned testimony, and my concerns are that there were a lot of misstatements, maybe a lack of
misinformation, a lack of understanding, implying that Britney doesn't understand what she actually witnessed and experienced, and that these were very serious charges.
Or maybe a lack of recollection, she said at the end.
A lack of recollection.
That's she didn't even know. They didn't even inform her.
Right. I believe Britney. I believe Britney.
I believe Britney Spears.
Vivian went on to say, that Britney in her testimony on 623, she said no less than 7 times that she wants to end the conservatorship. She also said very harsh words towards her father.
About many people.
About many people. And she brought up that Britney also made claims against Jody Montgomery as far as like not letting her get the personal care that she needed and things of that nature. So Vivian is arguing that after the serious claims that Britney made, now she wants Jody to continue. And it raised questions that, she made a 180 in the span of just a couple of weeks.
Which she did. I mean, that is true. I am concerned over the veracity of the statement, whether Britney does indeed want Jody Montgomery to stay on. I mean, I saw a text message that was from a Jane Doe, but what does that really mean? I mean, I didn't hear Britney say that. So, true, right? Like, why was it, June 23rd, Britney was saying Jody's taking it too far and I have this IUD implanted and I can't get it out, but now all of a sudden, she wants Jody only to stay on? Like, I don't agree with Vivian a lot, but I do agree with that.
Well, this is what you won't agree with. Then Vivian said that many of Britney's characterizations and memories are just incorrect.
She said memories, characterizations are quote, just incorrect.
Oh, she's a doctor now. She knows all the memories.
And then she says the second issue, Britney's desire to have a baby. To appoint Jody as the conservator alleges that the petition that that Sam filed on Jody's behalf to keep her as the permanent conservator of the person, it alleges that Britney does not have capacity to make her own medical decisions. And this is something we always have been talking about for the last several months. I have continued to say no capacity declaration has been filed in this case, as to say that Britney has no medical capacity to make her own medical decisions. That's never been determined once. And Vivian confirmed that today in court, that no order on Britney's medical capacity exists. And she said, the court needs to make certain findings. And, the petition, that if we just grant this permanent conservatorship for Jody, that could necessitate, Britney giving away certain of her rights. And maybe she doesn't know that she has those rights. It could, she's not sure if Britney really knows. And all I sit here and keep thinking is, well, why didn't Jamie, in his 13 years on this thing, ever tell her that? If she's so concerned Britney doesn't know that, like,
And Sam.
somebody else could have told
Why
her.
didn't her own attorney tell
Because she
her?
would have got out
So
of
then
it.
she
They didn't
said,
have that.
which was news to me, consistent with the last time in 2019, right, whenever Britney came to the court the first time and said all these same things. Vivian says, well, whatever happened then should happen now, which was an investigation was granted. Jamie is not involved in the day-to-day activity of Britney's estate, or her life, rather, and we can't even get info from Jody about her medical treatment. So Vivian was saying they want the court to determine what Britney's true desires are, which that's fine, and that sounds good, but that ain't what that petition said. The petition wanted an evidentiary hearing, and Mr. Matt Rosengard, I'm stealing his thunder a little bit because he does come in and say this. So then, Lorianne, Jody's lawyer, said, okay, first of all, there's 2 issues here. The first issue is what Britney actually said. The second issue is what are we going to do? What's the process going to be to address that?
And she said, I don't think it's a secret that we're dealing with a conservatee with a mental illness. I would it down word for word. No, Lorianne Wright. This was Jody's lawyer, Lorianne Wright. I don't think it's a secret we're dealing with a conservative with a mental illness, and it should be a therapeutic process to help her get better. There shouldn't be an evidentiary hearing, depose her and stress her out and all of that.
Yeah,
so.
she said, where does this lead us? Where would that thing, that Vivian, oh, that sounds good. But where would it lead us? Putting Britney on the stand? Deposing her? Cross-examining her? Where does this all lead? Don't put her on the stand. The court has been fully informed, and, you know, there's these investigator reports that we have not been able to see. And then she goes, the pandemic was hard for everyone. And she said that the conservatee has a pre-existing condition that made her predisposed to COVID, and that's why it was really difficult to get her help. And indeed, the conservatee did not contract COVID, so we were successful in keeping her safe. And
She's paraphrasing, but she literally said that.
Nothing that I'm saying is verbatim unless I say everything. And then she says, and she basically calls Britney a liar also, and says there were hair, there was nails, there were massages, and we're prepared to answer for all that. So basically, Britney said no, there wasn't. So I believe Britney. Then she says, well, what? Here's a grand solution. We're putting together a care plan with the medical team. And the care plan, you know, we weren't there during tours. We don't know everything, but we don't need to do an evidentiary hearing. And we need to do a careful balance. Of course, here you go, Lorianne, the most concerned with privacy, aka secrecy. We need to do a careful balance of what comes out in the public. We need to avoid her being cross-examined, and we need to have we have answers in our care plan. And she said, and we will give Britney a path. And she kept saying this, to get better. And I'm just thinking, get better from what? She's fine. Let her out of conservatorship. So there's still, even though Jody wants to pretend like she's the one on Britney's team and her side, her lawyer is still saying things like she has mental illness, and you know, Jody's lawyer, and she's saying, you know, we have this care plan and we're gonna help her get better. And Britney literally said in her own testimony today, anything that's wrong with me is their fault. Yeah. She didn't say that at that point, like she said earlier, but she was saying that. So then, you know, whatever. So then, Lorianne says, we're gonna let Mr. Rosengard work with Britney, you know, and then she talks about these fake death threats again. Medical team said that, this was a good one. The medical team itself has said that for Britney's health, Jamie Spears has to go. Conceivably, I mean, like, you probably know it. Pretty bad. But the medical team said it's in Britney's medical interest to get rid of Jamie.
And then she did say they would need 45 days to finish the care plan and the motion to seal because it's going to be medical information. And
$650 an hour.
They have to be careful about what they let out in the public sphere.
So basically, Lorianne says, like, Vivian is full of belief and says, you know, maybe Jamie doesn't make any decisions technically, but every single thing that we spend money on costs money. Everything that Britney does costs money. Every person, every paycheck, every specialist, he knows every single thing that's happening. So maybe he's not making those decisions or those calls, but he can say no to things we ask for, which basically is making the call if you say no. And then Rosengard, I think, had enough of this, like in his 10 seconds in his courtroom already, and is like, okay, listen, what is clear to me, and seemingly everyone else is, this is not working. Yes. What is at the heart of this proceeding, what should be at the heart of this proceeding is gone. It's not there. And I'm like, what's the heart? And he says, Britney's best interest. Yes. He said, I am appalled that Vivian Thore would make such the statements that she made. The goal at the end of this is not a trial. The goal should be to end the conservatorship. He said, and you know, my firm's going to be looking into it, but there's questions as to whether this, you know, the meeting, the courtroom, was even the proper forum to hear this in the very first place. If we're talking about something having to do with and relating to a mental health issue, there was a lot of other things that could have been done, and he said that this conservatorship probably wasn't even necessary in the first instance.
He said it shouldn't have been made permanent in the first place.
Woo! Yes! And then he said, so, you know, that being said, I conservatorship probably wasn't even necessary in the first instance, certainly wasn't necessary to be permanent. He said, we need to move forward. Why? And then says to Vivian, says, you know what, after he said, I'm appalled at what Vivian has to say, he says, I would ask Vivian if her client, Jamie, wouldn't be willing to step aside and tender his resignation to him. I'll let you think about what and then he said, why is he still involved? Is it some kind of conflict here? Is it money, perhaps? He said, I see 10 lawyers on this screen. I don't know the last time I saw 10 lawyers agreeing on one thing. He said, somebody else, there's people just like Ms. Montgomery who can step in and serve in this role until we end this conservatorship. Does anybody actually believe that Jamie Spears' continued involvement in this case is beneficial to Britney in any way?
He's a fucking parasite.
He said, I would ask Jamie to voluntarily step aside. We've heard Miss Doreen say it on TV several times about how much he loves his daughter. He's not this sassy. And then he goes, if that is true, it is time to step aside. She said it herself, she wants her life back. So then Gladstone Jones, who is Lynn Spears' lawyer, steps in. He agrees wholeheartedly with Rosengart and says, the system is broken. This is lawyers gone wild. And he says, Lynn wants Mr. Rosengart to be able to have a little bit of time to familiarize himself with the case. He said it is shameful to see the conservators going at each other like this because he agrees with Rosengart. It doesn't take into consideration Britney's best interests. So then Lynn's request is we get back with the direction of working together, the best interest of Britney in mind, and for the court basically to remind everybody that that is really wrong. So then Judge Penny has Vivian Thore read what she thinks about James stepping aside. And then Vivian, of course, says, well, there's processes and mechanisms in place, and it's just inappropriate to ask Jamie to step down. There were so many misstatements in Britney's testimony. It's hysteria on the record. And Britney's beliefs are wrong. She said she doesn't think Britney understands what happened. Everyone needs an opportunity. Everyone needs an opportunity to share their perspective. And Jody even talked to Jamie this weekend, and they need to come up with a plan.
She said that Britney has certain beliefs that her father is responsible for all the bad things that happen to her, which is misinformation, it's ill-advised, and she's giving a testimony without the other chance being able to tell their side.
They've been telling their side for 13 fucking years.
So then Vivian goes, we need to come up with a plan, and she said, as to before everything went sideways, we need to get back to that. Britney's beliefs are wrong. Jamie needs an opportunity to share his perspective. Yeah, she called Britney's complaints unsubstantiated, which was weird. She said, I think it's important to remind everyone that Britney appeared voluntarily. This is a special proceeding, a conservatorship. The teens can come up with a resolution. She said Jamie is not going to resign this way and in this form. So Jamie did not resign. Then Judge Penny did make a good point for once and said, okay, but the point is everyone should be working together to help Britney get to where she's trying to get. And I took that to mean ending the conservatorship. I mean, she didn't say that, but that's what I thought she meant. She said it isn't about anyone else. And I took that to mean this isn't about Jamie clearing his reputation. This is about Britney Spears getting out of the conservatorship. She didn't say that, but that's what I kind of picked up between the lines. Then she says to Rosengart, petitions require notices. Do you want to have the notices, the court filing sent to you or to you and Britney? Because Sam had them just coming to him. And he said, I do also want them to just come to me. So I'm not really sure what that was about. Why can't Britney have her phone for documents? I don't get it. She has a right. Anyway, so then Penny said, also she kind of scolded the lawyers for doing these petitions on such an untimely basis, meaning like, moments before the hearing, there's like 10 things filed. Like everyone saw, like the past 5 days, there's like 15 filings, and it's like millions of dollars approved. Y'all want us to do that in a couple of days? Like that's not gonna happen. So she kind of fussed at him a little bit for that, and she said it puts undue strain on the probate attorneys who have to make the notes. We need to get the notes clear promptly, and then that was pretty much mostly it. Oh, no, it wasn't. So then they start talking about a date, and then Vivian, to close it off, said there was a lot of talk about how long certain people have been involved in conservatorship. Jamie has been involved since day one, since even before the conservatorship, and he has been involved he has been available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the past 13 years, which, to hear Brittany say it, that's not true, and I believe Brittany. Lots of evidence, there's probate investigative reports. He's always been guided by her best interests, life. Jamie loves his daughter, y'all know she had to get that one in there. And Jamie is hurt, in trouble. So then Vivian says, I want to give Rosengard the opportunity to get on the same page, get the and then she says, I have a feeling that when he reads the full record, we will all be a much more of this. So I guess she thinks there's some kind of secret thing that's gonna like make it seem like Britney is not entitled to constitutional rights, which I don't think he's going to find. And then they all, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 issues that did not get resolved today. And one of them will come Monday at 3 o'clock, and that is going to be Jody Montgomery's security. And the rest are going to be on September 29th.
So Jody gets right away. Please stay with an IUD in her body. Until September. Something in her body. She suggested Jody is outside. She suggested September 8th or 29th. Most of them were on board for the 8th, but Vivian said that wouldn't work for her. To be fair, Coley and Wild came in and said it was a Jewish holiday as well, so they couldn't make it.
Every day.
Brittany had to wear when she had a fever of 102. She's kind of lazy out here. Jody Montgomery's temporary papers, granting her the temporary role of conservator, they expire September 3rd. So the judge has extended them through October 8th.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because the alternative is going to be making her permanent. And once it's permanent, y'all already know, okay? So, I'm not happy about it. They should have ended this conservatorship friggin' years ago. Should have ended on June the 23rd. However, I think, all things considered, the alternative to extending these temporary orders was going to be making it permanent. So we don't want that. So they did make the temporary conservatorship of the person last at least a month longer until October, and they are going to address at the September hearing whether that needs to be discussed again, kicked down the road again, or made permanent at that time.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
I cannot speak like that. I can say, hello, today's my
I love how we all talk about it. Yeah, I love it.
My name is BJ. I am a lawyer licensed from New Jersey. I work at a law firm here in Content, and I'm a disability rights advocate.
Hey.
I am.
Of course you're here. What's up?
I saw like a and it was like working as an I am not a and I saw that they had said she had to register. I violated doctor notes saying that. And it started to unravel from very quickly. There's probably a lot more to do with putting some money and her body than it was with what I did.
But I think with that album, she was starting to find this out. Like, she got to experience, because, like, I think her first album was very, like, generic pop. I think mine is something, mine is like, I just like it. And Don't Go Knocking on My Door, I love that one so much. Okay, we took a picture of the person.
Well, I am not a doctor, so I don't want to.
Oh my god, maybe next time.
But what I do know is, Britney's in probate.
Well, okay, unless we take a selfie, I'll go take a picture.
Say with them, so I go follow other guys.
I love your outfit. You wear everything to one.
Yeah, I think I wear like kind of
Always, Britney's my favorite. My first band of my ever joined.
I think my first band of mine ever joined was Pretty Little Liars. And as a fan of Pretty Little Liars, if you ever were, you had to investigate the entire episode. So I feel like that trained me for this.
That show gave me so much stress. Like,
oh my god, yeah, she got some pictures of me.
They're doing a reboot now. Well, it's technically a sequel now, but... Oh, it's a prequel.
Original set.
I just can't. I don't know. I just got mad. I thought like Jesse should have been in it, but no, they made some great. I was like, yeah.
Oh, I'm rewatching it for like the 1000th time. I'm on season 3. Season 3 was my favorite.
But I am not surprised.
Honestly, they should have just called them talking police. That would have solved all their problems.
Got me really excited about that.
I need to add sparkles on mine. I love it. Oh my god! Might as well. And she's a good writer. Oh, I think he's gonna.
Are you gonna get a resolution?
Yeah, I just wanted to check in.
Are you coming to Hydra? There's a lot of stuff. I think
there's ever another Free Britney rally, I'll go to high school.
Are you still over there?
Yeah. I hope so too. I don't want to get conservatorship. If I see Britney Spears, I'm fucking his ass off. Like, I will, like, I have a pepper spray, I'm ready for it. Yes. I'll go to jail for Britney.
Does anybody have a video of Matt coming out of the courtroom?
Woo!
Do you think that having hundreds of people here with the signs, chanting, marching, tweeting, you know, has that made a difference? What's the momentum about it?
Fine question. But it's made the difference. In 2008, Britney hired a lawyer named Adam Streisand to represent her in court, much like she did this time. And the judge at that time, Reva Getz, had said, Britney doesn't have the capacity to get her own lawyer. So Adam ended up and kicked Adam out of the courtroom. I don't think that was going to happen. And I think the main reason it wasn't going to happen today is precisely because we are all being treated. I think it will end. It has to. And perhaps criminal investigations will have to say. The ACLU's position is that Britney has a constitutional right to her own attorney of her own choice. They did say that they wanted to act as a sort of intermediary to help her, and so Britney and her lawyer disagree with that second part. They agreed with the first part, and I think that the ACLU's presence was a good thing because it did seem to me as though they were just looking out for the process of law to make sure that Britney was actually able to choose her own attorney and had the resources and information available to do so. As of yet, I have not seen anyone other than fans and, you know, spectators.
I just heard that the pre-party address 8933.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go there. I need to let you take. Our car's like here, right? Because we went some weird route.
Yeah. So around this corner. We went the other way.
Yes, for the gram.
I'll go shoot Margaret.
I thought you were looking at news reporter because I saw the light. Okay. Don't tag me.
Thank you for the work you do. I'm Melanie Veronica. I follow you and we share your stuff a lot. You're incredible. You're like at the key to this movement, and I really appreciate the work that you've been doing on your own. So it's a lot of work, and what you've been doing really changed though when you came on board. Like absolutely 100%. Because like lawyers for Britney, like they just did not even like showing your face and sharing, breaking down the documents the way that you did. It's just so much more authentic and like really so for all of us to follow along with what's happening on like a legal perspective.
It's like that bullshit that the legal profession is so why is it all lawyers get to have this
Sorry.
You should not go to like that to know you're right.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, but I appreciate it, and it gives us hope to have lawyers like you who are actually advocating and doing this research themselves, and you know, unpaid, and even what you said about how you would represent her and you wouldn't want to get paid for this, and it's just, I really appreciate the work that you've been doing because it helps us all understand what's happening from a legal perspective. Yeah, absolutely appreciate you. Thank you. You're going to solve this, Rubik's Cube. Yeah.
Oh, this
one maybe not, but this one, you got the skill for it. Yeah, absolutely, thank you.
Thank you so much. Everybody. It was like so disgusting to see all those pictures. Person after person after person after person after person. You're like, you're making 1,000 an hour, you're making 800 an hour, you're making 600 an hour. You know, it was just
I'm not your shit if I drop him. Okay. It's so packed here. Doing my best. What's up?
I live in downtown.
One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much.
I